Hi, my name is Joshua Potter,
Hi, I'm Al Bickham from Creative Assembly.
and we're here to talk about the new update for Total War Warhammer 2, the Skaven.
Who knew?
Right, yes.
Right, oh my god.
Or Beastmen. I mean, we can still live that lie
Yeah.
for a period of time.
Yeah.
So I actually I got a chance to play it, loved it. I thought everything that I've seen so far just completely captures the spirit of the Skaven.
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of what Skaven bring to the game, other than
The way they're swarming towards us right now. I suppose.
Perfect. Yeah, see? They're bringing in the menace.
So the thing I love about Skaven, I think the most, is the way they've got this. Right, they get all their bonuses and they do things a certain way in a very, very different way to every other faction. But they're also slightly self-harming as well, just because of the way they are. So they're all about building up massive populations really quickly and overwhelming the enemy with swarms of ratmen, basically, like your clan rats and your Skaven slaves. But in the campaign game, that rapid build-up of population can cause you problems as well. So as your cities grow, as your lords move around and capture new settlements and stuff like that, you start building up Skaven corruption, which has all sorts of benefits and side effects at the same time, because it's basically a kind of allegory for overpopulation. So suddenly it starts causing you public order problems and stuff like that, and it's that kind of counterpoint, I think, where the Skaven character really comes alive. That and things like Doom Wheels, obviously, as well, and the horrific Hell Pit Abomination as it minces its way through people. It's just, they've got so much stuff going on that's just really fun, really characterful, and again, the joy of working with Warhammer as a sort of property is being able to realise the character of a race through kind of distilled pure mechanics. Being able to, the Menace Below is one of the army abilities for the Skaven. You get that from the word go, and it just lets you spawn units of clan rats. You pull them out of the ground wherever you want on the battlefield, and they are trash. They are, they're literally, their only trait is meat shield. They're there to be thrown into the mincer and forgotten about. So you bring them up and you lock down artillery pieces with them. You bring them up and you stop archers firing. You bring them up and you stop a charge happening because it tangles up a cavalry unit that's running towards you. And really, that's the kind of the Skaven way. You swamp the area with rats, with cheap units, and they row, they get minced up, and they row, and they come back, and they get a speed bonus when they've got low morale, so they run away really quickly, which means they get out of battle range and they get their morale back. So you kind of keep sweeping them back into combat, and they die in their droves, and that's okay, because you lock everything down, and it gives your big specialist units a chance to come in and focus fire, do tremendous damage. Stuff like rat ogres and the Hell Pit Abomination, and plague priests, which do really nasty kind of poison, armor piercing damage. There's not a lot of particularly heavily armored stuff in the Skaven army, but some of it really pays out damage, and there's a lot of poison in the army as well, which is great for kind of general debuffs. They're really fun to play. Yeah.
So I got a chance to play as the legendary Lord Queek, and I got a little bit of the other legendary Lord. Can you tell me more about him and what makes him so special?
Yeah, Skrulk is a Grey Seer. He's a magic user, so he gets the, I think it's the Law of Ruin. And I haven't played enough with him to tell you about his skills trees or anything like that, but he's much more the magical side of things, whereas so he gets bonuses to things like Grey Seers and spellcaster units, whereas actually Queek, in counterpoint to that, he gets has more loyalty issues when he's recruiting lords, spellcaster lords, because loyalty's a thing now. So with Skaven, they're very backstabby. So when you recruit new lords, they've got a loyalty rating, and that, if you're Queek, tends to be lower with the magic user lords. Yeah, so Skrulk is very much sort of focused in that area, and yes, the Skaven spells are great. There's more summon spells in there. There's big kind of poison bursts. There's sort of nice wind style spells. Those teardrop kind of spells that do. There's one called Cracks. Exactly, yeah. Cracks Call. If you can play it down the line, it can just run in a big line and just knock out a whole load of stuff. So yeah, it's he's quite powerful.
I'm going to ask the question that I know I've seen on forums for a while. Are we going to see Thanquil or in his buddy Bone Ripper?
Who knows? Who can say?
The cryptic answers.
Exactly.
That's totally fine.
I think the kind of stock answer to that question is we're going to be making this game for a long time. So, and there's we've got a plan to do a certain amount of stuff and to do some really, really key stuff and some really, really important stuff. Like, we've always said we're going to do there's 16 official army books in 8th edition Warhammer. We're going to do all those races, right? But there is room for manoeuvre. There's room for expansion. Across the grand sweep of the 3 titles that we're working on.
Right.
So,
You just recently released the Norse, and in a way, you've made them your own in terms of how you've developed them as a race.
Well, yeah, they didn't have an army book in 8th edition, but they did in the Norse. Yeah, they had army books, I think, like 3rd, 4th edition.
Right.
So we plucked a load of stuff from there, like Fimir, for example. They stopped making those miniatures a very, very, very long time ago, and so we sort of resurrected them. And they're sort of rare, magically charged, sort of troll-sized, monstrous infantry, and it's like they're full of flavour, and they are creatures of the North. So let's bring them back. So, we have a really great working relationship with Games Workshop. So we chatted about that, and they're like, yeah, bring them home. Yeah, bring back the Fimir. So it's like, great, cool, let's do that. So we can, it's really, it's lovely to be able to do that, and to reach back in time and resurrect these things that sort of haven't seen the light of day for a long time.
I'm going to follow up by asking 2 questions in regards to the presentation that you'd given us.
Yeah.
You had referred to a certain number of the newer things that are being added, like rights, for example. When you speak about it, you talk about that they're going to be available for all races. Is that including like the old world races?
No, at the moment that's just the New World races, the 4 playable ones in Warhammer 2. So I don't think I can confirm whether the old world races will get rights in the combined campaign. Maybe eventually. Yeah. I can't confirm that at the moment though.
Okay.
But a lot of the features that are in the Vortex campaign game for Warhammer 2. So the kind of gameplay shape of the combined campaign will be, we take out the Vortex mechanic, but we'll still have the Chaos Warrior invasion over in the old world. But we take away the Vortex mechanic because that's going to be, it's the big sandbox
contained to that area.
Yeah, and we want to make the combined campaign. We don't want to force people to who aren't necessarily related to the Vortex campaign to be involved in that. So it's the big sandbox. That's what we're sort of aiming to make. But all those extra kind of, and especially a lot of the sort of the gameplay that's bound up in the map itself. So things like treasure hunting and encounters at sea. And those little exploration bonuses and all the kind of new events and dilemmas, they'll all be in the combined campaign. So it's going to feel very different playing, say, Empire in the combined campaign, as it would playing just Empire in the old world. Yeah.
Speaking of the sea, a lot of the newer races that are coming in play a big part in terms of ocean warfare, which is more used for travel in the first game.
Yeah.
Is there going to be any type of influence in regards to having like the High Elven Navy or Black Arcs, for example?
Black Arcs is a it's funny you mentioned that. We have got Black Arcs. That is a absolutely key kind of mechanic for the Dark Elves, and the way it works is you have a right. And if you've got, and it's very expensive, and as it should be.
Right.
If
you have a floating city.
Exactly. If you own a coastal settlement, you can spend your resource on that right, and it will. Basically, the Dark Elves have a third kind of recruitment pool. You have your lords and your heroes, and now you have a Black Arc recruitment pool. And if you do the right, a Black Arc gets added to your recruitment pool. So at any coastal settlement that you own, you can recruit that Black Arc. It appears on the map, giant black floating ziggurat of doom. It's a full city, like I think it's 8 to 10 building slots. You can build up a huge garrison in there. It's a city that moves around the map, and crucially supports your land armies when they're doing battles. So it has a bombardment radius, and it has 3 key building chains, which improve 3 key bombardment types that it can do. Right. So if you so you've got a Black Ark. You've got Malekith, say, he's attacking a settlement which is moderately near the water, near a stretch of ocean. You sail your Black Ark up over here, and you'll see a bombardment radius marker around it, like a zone of control almost. And if that battle falls within that radius, you kick off that battle with Malekith, and you'll have 3 new army ability buttons which rain down magical bombardments. So, and there's 3 different types. They have different kind of effects. And initially, at least, they're not too OP, but you start leveling them up and they can start doing quite a lot of damage. Big radius explosions, So, so if you liked that aspect of Fall of the Samurai, then you've got lots to look forward to. Yeah, Black Arks are really cool.
So we've seen that Skaven are known for their swarming tactics, their backstabbing, and their kind of mixture of bravery through, how do you say, I guess, fear? Or like a fair fight for them is a 7-on-1 in their favor.
Yeah, exactly.
With the Dark Elves, it seems like they have a lot of kind of naval support coming from the Black Arks. What makes the other races so different? Like, what makes them stand out compared to what we've seen so far in Total War?
So like the Skaven, like the Dark Elves, everybody has their own suite of mechanics and their own kind of specialisms. So the High Elves, they have a unique resource, which is influence, which is gathered through certain agent actions. Political dilemmas will constantly pop up with the High Elves, and there'll be trade-offs for you'll have 4 different options, say, with a dilemma, and which can increase your influence, decrease your influence, increase your cash. There's a bunch of different effects. But anyway, influence is gathered in these methods, and influence can be spent on a couple of sort of key things. The first one is lords in the Lord recruitment pool for the High Elves are of varying quality, and the best lords have some really, really, really good starting buffs. Traits, basically, some really high-end traits. But you can't recruit those at the start of the game. You're just it's not like you've owned much territory or anything. You've got to really impress them. So you've got to build up your influence, and then you can expend that to woo these guys to your side. And then suddenly you've got really superior lords leading armies. And influence can also be used on a new system you can interact with that only the High Elves get, called Intrigues of Court. And what it really represents is you sending your envoys to woo and influence other races diplomatically. So you can interfere with them. You can basically change the way they feel about you or other races. So you can quietly sit there and spend influence every turn and start generating a war between 2 factions. So you're there. You've got 2 guys who are friends and at war with you. If you can get those guys to go to war, they're going to be taking their eye off you a little bit. It's going to take the pressure off you. Or you get one to really, really like you, so he ceases going to war with you, and that takes the pressure off. And you can just go and imagine the sort of situations you can engineer. You're sitting up there in Ulthuan, just kind of going, oh, you guys, you should be friends.
Yeah, why fight when you can have them fight for you? Exactly.
The really fun stuff is when you've got like a really firm ally, and they're doing a bit too well for themselves. So you get some wars happening, and they don't really know it's you engaging in this. It's just fiddling around with them diplomatically. So that's cool. So that's what the High Elves have, and martial prowess as well, which is a key trait for them in battle. Like, a load of their units have martial prowess, which means they, provided their leadership is high, they get a load of battle buffs, and they're immediately just. You have a fresh army that's going in. It's high morale, high. It's got full units. It's got high morale. Then as long as they're high morale, they're going to be tough nuts to crack. So you have to kind of find ways of working around that by breaking their morale. By aiming to break that, not just kill the units, but surrounding them, say, or using weapons that things that cause fear and terror, try and get their morale down. So the High Elves get that as well. The Dark Elves, as we mentioned, they get their own suite of traits. Their own suite of rights. They get Black Arks. They use slaves as a resource, which can be spent on a number of different things, not least rights and things like that as well. And You can also manage your slave population. There's ways, so certain cities you might be using more slaves in for various things. So you can basically set how many slaves are coming into that. So you can say prioritize that city for slave income, and slaves are gathered through winning battles and sacking settlements and things like that. So you get a slave population income. And they get the dark mirror to the High Elves. They get murderous prowess, which is when they go into battle. There's a bar. There's like a
the glowing purple bar.
Exactly, the big glowing purple bar at the top. That as you kill stuff, it just starts filling up, and then they get a kind of a frenzy effect, and then melee attack shoots up, and they just tear into combat in a much more murdery way, which is very dark elf. And it, like I said, it is that kind of dark mirror to the High Elves. So that's how we kind of, define the differences between them, and they're similar yet polar opposites, which is what they are in the lore. So yeah, everybody, and lizard men, obviously in battle they've got tons of different dinosaurs effectively, stegodons and theralcarnosaurs and all sorts of stuff. And they get to access the geomantic web, which is this ancient series of ley lines that run between the major settlements of the world, the major kind of population centres of the world. And if there's a new interface for that, there's a little button, you click it, and you'll see it from above. You'll see glowing lines connecting all the settlements, and they're different colours. And those different colours represent the level of strength of that particular line. So when you've got two cities that are connected on the geomantic web, there's a building chain you can build called geomantic pylons. And what these do is they level up your geomantic web interaction level for that settlement. And if you've got two that you've leveled up to, say, level 3, that strengthens the bond between them. And it means both those settlements get enhanced. It's all about enhancing your commandments in your provinces. So you've got all the settlements in a province, and if you can do commandments, and basically your connection to the geomantic web and your improvement of your connection to the geomantic web starts supercharging your commandments.
Sure.
And that is just, no one else gets that kind of stuff, So yeah, everyone's got their thing. And it was a lesson we learned. It was an experiment with the first game, was to go fewer factions but much deeper and broader in their differences, and we've just gone hell for leather with that with Warhammer 2 as well. They play very differently, they feel different, they just offer a completely different gameplay experience. So yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's been amazing talking with you. It's been amazing playing the game. And I think we've taken up so much of your time. But thank you so much. So we look forward to seeing more from the game. This is Joshua Potter, and thank you for checking in with us. Have a great day.